Yuki, good to see you. Thanks for
Good.
making a bit of time to come and have a chat. I appreciate that. I wanted to kick off our discussion by reflecting back to you something that you said to me, which I thought was a really bold statement to make. You said most senior professionals are unhappy at work. Well, I mean, why is that important to you, and how do you know that, and why does it matter?
So I think what became normal in our society is to chase money and status and prestige, etc. But people often forget that why we are doing this is to gain happiness, right? Like we earn money because we want to like be able to survive or maybe get a better car or something because we think it makes us happy. But by focusing solely on chasing money, we are actually making us unhappy. Like we compromise our health, we compromise our like relationships, and we miss the sunny hours outside sitting in an office the entire day. And so I think that is the main reason why senior professionals nowadays are becoming more and more unhappy.
Okay. And why does that matter to you? I mean, you're trying to do something about that, aren't you? I mean, why does that matter to you?
Why does it matter to me? I think that happiness is contagious. So at least if I'm seeing someone smile, it makes me smile.
Mhm.
And so I just want to, yeah, make sure that like the foundational needs of everybody is met and everybody's happy because that also makes me happy. Pretty selfish.
Okay, I get that. And I mean, in terms of, I mean, because you've got a business focused on this. I mean, tell us what you're trying to achieve in terms of that business. I mean, tell us about what you do and how you're going to do that.
hmm Right. So my objective for myself and my clients is to meet all needs. So that is kind of the baseline that I'm setting. And so, right, like I'm not sure if you're familiar with like Maslow's pyramid of
Yeah,
needs,
hierarchy of needs. Yeah, yeah.
the hierarchy of needs, right? The like physiological needs, safety, belonging, esteem, and then self-actualization. And I think if we are really capturing all of that, then that will, yeah, make us more happy. And so, what I want to achieve is to get people not only focus on the safety aspect, which is usually like earning enough money to pay the bills or to like buy food, etc., but also to get the rest of the needs in place. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
So
achieve.
what you're talking about is, if you like, lifting their sights up. So lifting people, getting people to think not just about surviving, but about self-actualization. Is that what you're saying? So you're trying to, if you like, redefine success for people.
Yes, I'm trying to real like redefine what success means. But the people I'm targeting is usually not those who are still struggling to get like basic
Right.
food, etc. It's more like those people who have these two foundations clear, right? Like the physiological needs and the safety needs, but struggle to get the other ones in place. That is where I'm stepping in and helping them realign their external world, like their work, everyday tasks, with their internal world, namely the unmet needs.
Let me ask you, why do they struggle with that? I mean, you would think, they're bright people, they've got a good job, they've got a good income, they've got a family or whatever. Why do they then struggle with those additional things? Because you would think that, I mean, Maslow's hierarchy of need is about, you've got to fulfill the lower stuff before you can move up. I mean, so why are they struggling to do the bit at the top? I mean, what's missing there? And why is that such an issue for those people?
Mm. I think that is how our like education and society tells them that they should live, right? Like in school, we rarely touch upon soft skills, like how to really build relationships in a healthy way. What we focus on is math and physics and maybe business and stuff like that. So we are like trimming all these hard skills into people, and that helps them, well, be successful in their job, maybe even achieve that esteem layer of the hierarchy of needs. right? Like to achieve the prestige and the achievements and all of that. But it really teaches people how to build healthy relationships and how to like really figure out their personal strength, right? Like, for example, a simple example, like I still remember when I was a child and talked to my grandfather. He was like, yeah, you shouldn't study psychology because that doesn't earn you money. It's like,
Right.
okay,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. He pushed me into like studying tech to, yeah, to make a better living or something like that. And so, like, children are rarely, maybe it changes now, but at least in my generation still, and also the older generations, people were still pushed towards things that might have not been aligned with their intrinsic strength and interests.
Mm.
Um,
And I mean, okay, so if you want to help people with that, I mean, how do you go about that? I mean, just tell us about how do you make that work for people? I mean, is it a coaching offer? Is it an online platform? I mean, what is the thing that helps them address that issue? Because it seems to me that's quite a complicated issue to sort out, and people will be different, won't they?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. No, so it's a mix of different things that I'm combining there. So I have a an online community where people get together, well, to build the belonging, but also to exchange ideas, to build accountability, to build partnerships, etc. I do offer online courses that include kind of like the framework that I'm teaching. And then I'm offering mentoring calls where I'm tailoring that to the individual because like every person is different. So even if we use my framework, it will still bear different results.
Yeah. And let me ask you about the different. I mean, my experience is that people, I mean, I lived in Berlin for a while. People in Berlin
Mhm.
were quite different in lots of ways to people in London. I've lived in London for quite a long time as well. I mean, how do you tailor your offer to reflect the fact that, people come from a whole range of different places and they have different expectations, different kind of cultural nuances and so on. I mean, what's your take on that piece? I mean, do you see the same sorts of issues, for example, in Germany as you would do in the UK? I mean, is it a common thing, this dissatisfaction?
I would say worldwide, the dissatisfaction is a common thing that I'm seeing again and again, no matter whether I'm
Yeah.
in Tokyo or in, I don't know, Vancouver or in Frankfurt. Um, and I think one part that is common between everybody is, well, the fundamental needs. I think humans are very similar in that regard, but how it translates into a solution is very cultural dependent. So, for example, in Asia, in East Asia, it's a lot more common to like get into a company and stay in that company for the entire time of
Yeah.
your life,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like scrutinized if you like leave the company, etc. And so the solution there looks entirely different from, let's say, America, where like everybody's allowed to fulfill their dreams and like jump from one job to another. So yes, the solutions need to be adjusted to the cultural background.
And how do you do that? I mean, how do you work out how to do that? Because it's easy to say. I suspect it's more difficult to do.
Yeah, but actually, the funny thing is, it's not impossible. So people usually get stuck because they think, okay, they need either that or that, and then they have to choose. But often there are solutions that combine everything. And so what I'm doing is at first, like it's a three-step process. In the first step, I'm analyzing, okay, where is even the mismatch? Like, why are you unhappy? Why do you feel drained at work, etc. In a second step, I'm looking at, okay, what is the direction, right? Like, how would you like to live your life, ideally?
Mm.
And then we brainstorm paths that lead there. And it's not guaranteed that we find the one path that leads there. But what we do is we brainstorm several paths at first, and being very non-judgmental there, just like brainstorm uh, a lot of paths that would lead there, and then we test them and see like, okay, we touch up on this, like how does that feel, does that work, how about this on that? And so I really encourage people to open their minds to maybe even crazy ideas, not to discard ideas before you have even like tested whether it would be an option.
And do you find people, do you do that because people naturally do exclude those ideas?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
And why
yeah.
does that happen? I mean, why aren't people more open to those things?
That is a very good question indeed. I think part of it is that we are trained to make very quick decisions. And so we become judgmental based on our experience. And so we say like, oh, that resembles what I've heard there, so it doesn't work. And oh, I think I went through something similar, so no, let's not do that.
Mm.
Um, or things are just so far outside of their their perspective, right? Like people always think in bubbles, even if they don't want to, but we are intrinsically bound to our own bubble because we have just a set experience and knowledge. And so we rarely are able to really see things that are outside of the bubble. And that is where like mentoring or the community really help because there are so many different people with so many different backgrounds,
Mm.
and they can really help you see what other paths are there. For example, there was a very interesting example I saw on LinkedIn once where like one person was also not like too happy, and a friend suggested he could just move to Panama. And he was like, "What? Like Panama? Why?" Like it
I have to
was.
say, Panama's really nice. I've been there. I think it's a great place. I wouldn't mind moving there. So, I mean, what did he say about going to Panama then?
Yeah, so he just never considered Panama at all. And so he was like, okay, it's like let me find reasons why that is a stupid idea. And so he really tried to find reasons. He tried to find deal breakers for that. And he didn't succeed. Like he was looking at the financial situation, and it would have been better than in the US. He looked at um, like safety issues and was like, oh, actually, that might be safer for my child. And so and all like he looked at very different topics and then found like, oh, he doesn't actually find a reason not to do it. And
Mm.
so he moved there and he reports that he's very happy there.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Oh, I mean, it's such an interesting area. What is it that set you on this path? Because you didn't start out doing this, did you? I mean, what is it that made you switch to doing this and wanting to build a community and build a business around this idea of helping people redefine success and helping people find a lot more satisfaction in their lives? I mean, what made you shift in that direction?
It was actually a revelation in a sense. Like I was working at a big tech company at the time in a project management position, and it just had everything that I didn't like and not anything of what I liked.
Right.
But I thought like, okay, let's just keep pushing and pushing, and then I'll right like step up and step up as I've done so far. But then what I didn't expect is like at some point I was like, it's like I'm not really ill, but somehow I don't have the energy to work. And I went to my doctor and told him that it's like, I'm sorry, I'm really not ill, but it's like I don't think I can work today. And then he looked at my symptoms and said, like, well, I'm not just like putting you on sick leave for 2 days. I'm putting you on sick leave for 2 weeks because you have a burnout. It's like,
Okay. But it was
oh.
burnout that was the problem.
It was a burnout. It was an exhaustion depression. And it was like, I always compare it to a phone, right? Like you have a phone at 100%. You use it 20%, you recharge it 15. You use it 20, you recharge it 15. And at some point, it's just empty and it turns off. It switches off because the battery is empty.
Mm.
But then you're at a point where like, oh, I need to figure out where to go from here on, but my phone is off. So how do I check Google Maps or something like that? And so you recharge it for like by 2%, you turn it on, open Google Maps, and obviously it switches off immediately because it's too much for the phone. And so that was a really tough time because I knew I needed to figure out where to head instead because the past track wasn't really working. But I didn't really have the energy to like have that mental process. Um, And really the real change for me came when I went onto a sabbatical because I thought like, okay, I'm taking time off entirely. I need to like kind of recover. I need to figure out where I'm heading. Let me take some time off, write a book, and then think where I'm heading from there. And then something very interesting happened. I caught myself at 2 a.m. saying, oh, just one more chapter. I wanted to write just one more chapter at 2 a.m. And I was like, where does that energy come from? That's so weird. Like, I was barely able to get out of bed. I was barely able to
Mm.
even like just do my household chores. And suddenly I have energy throughout the entire day into the night.
Why did that happen? I mean, what changed? Where did that energy, as it were, come back from?
It was the writing because writing was so aligned with who I was and like what really energized me. And the big learning there was, oh, okay, if I'm doing something that is truly aligned with my strengths and interests, then work isn't draining anymore. It's energizing.
Mm.
And so that insight just made me think, okay, I want to help people not go through the same process in the sense of having to burn out first and like going through these months of like trying to get back onto their feet. I want to help them before it happens.
So
I
is
want
your
to.
so let me ask you about that. And so that's a very interesting point. So is your program about helping people prevent burnout, or is it to recover from burnout? I mean, you seem to be saying it's about trying to help people prevent running into those problems. Is that the case?
Yes, so I'm not really helping them with like burnout recovery because when you have to recover from burnout, you first have to get the rest, etc., and then need to figure out where you're heading. I think my process is better for people who still have the energy, but realize, oh, if they are continuing going down that track, um, either they burn out or they grow too old to actually change something, right? Like they will reach their 65 and have worked like their 60 hours a week. And then they're too tired to actually pursue the life they had dreamed of, or their children are already out of the house. And so I'm helping people who realize they are on the wrong track. And then I help them get onto the right track.
Mm. And that's a really interesting. I mean, it's a really interesting conundrum that because you're selling something that is about avoiding something, which I always think is it's quite a difficult sell. I mean, how do you approach that? I mean, when we were talking the other day, you were saying that most networking things you go to, it doesn't take you long before you've found somebody who's not very happy in their job, and I can believe that actually. But how do you take them from I'm not very happy to we need to do this to avoid that? I mean, that seems an interesting sort of jump that people make.
Yeah, indeed. And not everybody is capable of seeing the cost of
Yeah.
inaction. But if you start actually like talking to them and like asking them, okay, so if you continue like that, where are you in 5 years, right? Like where are you in 10 years? What did it cost you emotionally, financially,
Mm.
time-wise, if you continue down that road? And then that is where people start to think. And I had people come to me who said like, yeah, they just celebrated their 50th birthday and they realized, wait, 50? They're already 50? It's like, oh, but like life expectancy is like 70 something. So it's just like a bit over 20 years left. And what have they done with their life? And so, right, like I'm waiting for this moment where people realize, oh, they're running out of time. They really need to change something now.
Mm. Oh, and there's a lovely quote from I think it's John Lennon, who said, life is what happens to you when you're planning to do something else.
Right.
I think it's a good point actually. Let me ask you that question. So, in terms of what you're trying to do, I mean, where do you want to get to in, let's say, 5 years? I mean, how are you defining success for this business and for you?
Yeah. For myself, that's very easy, actually. I want to build a financial base, but in a way that it doesn't require like 50, 60 hours a week. So I designed my business in a way that would be highly scalable once set up. And so in 5 years, I hope that like I can maintain my business. I don't really want to grow it endlessly. I just want to like build a base and then maintain it with a couple of hours a week and use the rest of the time, for example, for friends, for family, for writing. Um, and I want to have it in a way that I would be flexible to go wherever I want. So I'm very much set on that like digital nomad lifestyle
Yeah.
because I just figured for me that's very important. I love to like be 2, 3 months in one place and then 2, 3 months in a different
Mm.
place. So for me, that is my goal that I'm
Yeah, I totally
working
get
toward.
that. I mean, I totally get that. There's a lot there's a lot to be said for those kind of peripatetic lifestyles, I think. Let me ask you about building a company though, because you make it sound really relaxed and really easy. I mean, that's perhaps because you're fairly relaxed, but you know, I know from having spoken to hundreds of entrepreneurs that it's quite a tough gig building a company. What is it about, sorry, it's a roller coaster, isn't it? You kind of there's good days and there's bad days. I mean, what is it about this that, if you like, gets you out of bed every day to ride that roller coaster? I mean, what is it that is specifically about this business that motivates you?
I think it's a mix of the business itself and the goal that or the objective I'm having with the business, right? Like the objective that I just described to
Yeah.
like create a life that is fulfilling. So that alone gives me so much drive because I know why I'm doing this for. But the business itself is also very energizing to me because I just love to work with the people I'm working with. It's there are so many interesting
Mm.
people and so many interesting perspectives and so many interesting lives. And for me, the best part is when they have their first breakthrough and like they finally see like, oh, that is the direction I want to pursue. And it's like when their eyes light up,
Mm.
it's just such a great moment for me. And yeah, I'm waking up for that.
Yeah, no, and I get that. It must feel very rewarding to help people in that way because
Yeah.
what you're actually saying is that you're helping people see something that is a blind spot. You're helping them find something that they probably couldn't do on their own, which I think is, part of what's valuable about this sort of thing, isn't it? Let me ask you about building a business. I mean, how do you feel about the process of building a business? I mean, does it make you happy? Do you feel it's challenging? I mean, how do you feel about being the CEO, leading the company?
So obviously everything has good parts and bad parts.
Mm.
I think as everything in life. To me, I think I really enjoy that it's a variety of tasks that I have to do. Like I'm very much an analytical thinker, but also a very creative thinker.
Mm.
And so I love that it's a mix of both. Like I'm building the business, looking at numbers, etc., and being very strategic and logical there. But at the same time, I'm building a brand. I'm thinking about how I want things to be, and I really love that fusion of the both. Um, but like, there's one thing that I really that I'm really not good at. And that was a big lesson learned because I tried to do everything myself at first. And then I realized, oh, it's like sales is not really something that I enjoy.
Mm.
And not really something I'm good at. And then I was like, okay, do I want to learn it myself or do I want to outsource it? And I figured, okay, with marketing, yes, I can imagine, or I could imagine learning that, and I did. I learned a lot about marketing, and I'm at a point where I'm starting to like actually enjoy it. Um,
Right.
but with sales, I'm still not quite there, and so there I'm like I tried to outsource it to other people, employed a marketing firm that does the like the ads and everything, and helped me like refine offer, etc. So yeah, there I
Let,
outsourced it.
let me ask you about that because that's a really interesting approach. I mean, how do you outsource the sales? Because my guess is ultimately, if people want to join your community, they've got to talk to you, which means ultimately they're it's that conversation with you that is going to help them make a decision to join or not join. I mean, which is essentially what sales is. So how do you outsource that? I mean, it's a really interesting idea. How do you do that?
Well, sales is not just the talk itself. So I'm still doing the final calls, like the
Right.
strategic calls. I'm still doing with the clients or with the like potential clients. But there is a lot about sales which happens in beforehand. So, for example, when I try to outsource sales at first, like I wrote like I want a sales development representative on LinkedIn, and then like had some interviews with people, and there was one person who was probably a very very good salesperson, and like he asked me about the offer, etc., and then he rejected me. And that was very interesting because
Why did
like
he
the
reject you?
reasons,
I mean, why would he do that?
right, like he rejected the offer because he said the offer isn't defined enough yet. Like at the point at that point in time,
Hmm.
it's like more than a year ago, I think. Like he felt like the offer wasn't at the place where it would need to be for sales to actually work. And so it required a salesperson to really see, okay, what is it that makes an offer work and what not? That is also part of sales. It's not just the final, okay, I'm doing the sales call. It's also like the positioning and finding the niche, defining the niche, etc. And so there it really helped to get help from external, like from experts that know about what they're doing.
And to what extent have your values shaped the way you, I mean, you just talked about the proposition, the offer. I mean, to what extent have your values shaped that?
To a big extent, because like most advice that I found was trying to push me towards things that I would not stand behind. So I had like people recommend stuff to me that was just fundamentally misaligned with what I'm standing for, which included like cold outreach via emails, which included um, business models with whatever, like even with the salesperson, like he was trying to push me towards like more concrete like software solutions and stuff like that, and I was like, that's for sure a valuable business model, but I want to help people with the psychological side. And so I can't really, it doesn't really make sense for me to focus on, let's say, how to build a YouTube channel if um, if my offer is not about the business itself, but more about what's behind the business.
Hmm. And let me just ask you about that. So that then leads you into a set of conversations about ethics, doesn't it? About, what you can and can't do. If you're I mean, I'm a huge believer that if you're dealing with people, it always gets more complicated because people are complicated. People are messy. They, have different preferences and all the rest of it. I mean, to what extent have there been ethical challenges around what you're doing? I mean, I'm thinking about confidentiality. I'm thinking about people that may come to this as a result of things that have gone wrong in the past. And, so I mean, what's your take on the kind of ethics around this?
Hmm. So in terms of like I would separate two things there. The one thing is how to do sales ethically, and then the other
Hmm.
part is about how to do the mentoring ethically. So in terms of sales, I just took distance from all these cold outreach things. Like I don't want to sell something to a person who doesn't need it.
Hmm.
So I'm more of the mindset, um, I'm showing what I'm doing. And if the person wants my help, they come to me. So that is my take on the sales part. And on the mentoring part, so far I didn't really have too much of an issue with any ethical problems there. Like what I'm doing, but the people are aware of that, is I'm recording the mentoring calls, because then like other people from the community who weren't able to participate in the call can still like draw something out of that, and like learn from the questions that other people asked. But since everybody is in the same boat, it's not so much about like, oh, I said something there and now I feel embarrassed, because like everybody's opening up and becoming vulnerable.
Mm.
And it stays inside a closed community. So like people who are not on the program don't have access to that.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so I think so far there hasn't been any problems with
I'm just
it.
curious because,
Mhm.
like I say, I think the people bit is both the interesting bit and the bit that always causes problems. That's been my experience, but
Okay.
perhaps I'm being a bit cynical. Let me ask you about the journey that you've been on. I mean, have you had any particular surprises when you thought, oh God, that didn't quite turn out the way I thought it would.
Oh, for sure. Like, I think I completely, like when I started off, I completely underestimated how long everything would take. Like, I completely underestimated how much I would be my own biggest bottleneck. And I really needed to overcome that will of doing everything on my own.
And let me ask you, that's a really interesting point you've made there. When you say you were your own biggest bottleneck, I mean, what do you mean by that? What sort of things did you stop happening? Because presumably, if you're in charge, you can either just make it happen. I mean, tell us about what were the bottlenecks that you began to realize you were creating and how did you create them?
It's time. So I had plenty of options. Like I could have like when I started off the business, I still didn't know the exact direction. And so I also considered like offering courses to companies about like team building and leadership trainings, etc. And then like I was in contact or I'm still in contact with an outdoor process trainer who does like these kind of company trainings outdoors.
Mhm.
And so I had that option, and then I still had my books and wanted to like build courses behind the books as like another set of business. And then I had ideas of like building e-commerce. So I had just too many ideas,
Right.
and it was utterly impossible to build everything on my own. It's just the time was not there. Like I could work 60 hours a week and
Then you're
still
back at
not
square
make
one, aren't you?
progress. Yeah, right. Then I achieved the opposite of what I wanted to achieve. And yeah, so I really needed to realize that and break it down. Like I needed to overcome that thing about, okay, I could do this, that, and that, and really say like, okay, I can, but I won't. I will just focus on that one thing and then just do that one thing.
And how did you
And
work out what that one thing was? Because it's easy to say. I mean, I mean, I suffer from that. Shiny object syndrome. There's this and this, and that looks interesting, and that looks interesting, but actually, I need to work out what I should be doing rather than all the other things that I could do. I mean, how did you reach a view about those things? I mean, what to prioritize?
yeah, and there it really helped me to get back to my original goal, right? Like my original goal was the financial basis plus the time to write books. And so I was going through all the things that I set up and considered the ongoing effort. Like once set up, like how much ongoing effort is it? And for example, with the training, it's time for money, right? Like it's I only earn the money that I gain from actually actively giving the business. And I wanted a little more scalable approach there. So I wanted something that, like for example, with my current business, what I did is instead of like repeating the same lessons or frameworks every time a new cohort starts, what I'm doing is I recorded the basics, right? Like the basic framework, but I do have the mentoring calls. But the mentoring calls are in a group setting because it benefits everybody. Like first of all, to hear the other questions, see the other problems, but they still get their tailored solution. And so by that, I have minimal effort with that business, right? Like it was a one-time effort to record the lessons, and then I have like 1 or 2 hours of mentoring calls a week where I can like group everybody together. And yes, if like I gain a lot more clients, then I would need to increase that. But then let's say it's 4 hours a week instead of 2 hours a week. That's still no time, right? Like
Yeah.
it's still no effort. And so that is why I chose that business in the end, because it was scalable, but not because I wanted to scale it to millions, but because I wanted to scale it to time.
Mm, okay. Let me ask you about your mistakes. What would you say is the biggest mistake you've made on the journey, and what did you learn from it?
So my biggest mistake that I did was that the direction alone isn't enough, but that the path there is also necessary. So for example, I mentioned that yes, the goal of my business was to like create the financial base plus time. But if the path there is taking 60 or 70 hours a week
Mm.
for a couple of years, then I'm basically achieving the opposite of what I wanted to
Yeah,
achieve.
yeah, yeah.
And so that is why I then started to outsource more and do less myself. As I said earlier, I was my own biggest bottleneck. I could work forever and still had plenty of tasks on my table.
Mm.
So I started to say, like, okay, this is not about making as much money as I can. So let me outsource it, free up some time for myself. And actually, the outsourcing sometimes even saves money because in the end, if you are outsourcing to an expert who does nothing other than that, they will be better at it than you are when you are trying to handle like 10, 20 different tasks.
Yeah, it's easier said than done though to let go of those things. I mean, I think a lot of people struggle to let go of that stuff, don't they? I mean, although your point's well made, if you outsource it to somebody that's better at it than you, I mean that seems to make eminent sense to me. And let me ask you about the flip side to that. So that's been your biggest mistake. What are the things that you enjoy most? What would you say is the one thing that you enjoy most about your business?
Definitely the product side. So, and what I mean by that is I really loved to create the coursework and to think about, okay, how do I get my clients best from A to B? Like, what are their biggest problems? How do I resolve them? And so to really create the content and to be on the calls with my clients, that is the part that I enjoy the most.
Okay. And if you were starting again, if you were starting from scratch, is there anything you do differently now, knowing what you know?
Yeah, for sure. I would do a lot of things differently. So, for example, we already touched up on the shiny object syndrome, which
Yeah.
I had in the beginning. I wouldn't do that again. I wouldn't try to stretch myself thin, but I would, like, from the very beginning, focus on one thing, like one product, one platform, one niche. Um, that is one thing that I would do. The second thing is I would aim for a product which is more measurable because what I struggled with in the beginning, right, like before you have the trust of the people because of you, right, like once you have testimonials, then that's fine. But before that, like once you like at the point where you want to gain new clients and you don't have anything to show yet, the biggest point is that they can imagine what they get out of it. And then you can form a guarantee around it, right? Like you can say, like, okay, you either get that or you get your money back. And with something like life satisfaction or happiness, it's just
Quite a
not
tricky thing, isn't it?
measurable. Yeah, and so like I had people in the calls who said like, "Oh yeah, everything sounds great. I want that, etc." But then they were like, "But actually, I can't really imagine what's the actual
Mhm.
outcome. Like, what will they have in hand?" And so I think if I were to start a new business, I would definitely focus more on something that is more graspable,
Mm.
more quantifiable. Hmm.
Mm. I mean, it's interesting you describe it. I've often thought that, with kids, they have careers advice. They go and talk to the careers teacher. I don't know what it's like where you are, but here in the UK, they go and talk to the careers teacher or whatever. And I've always felt that that doesn't work because I think the question you should be asking is not what kind of career do I want, but what kind of life do I want? And then you pick a career that will give you the life that you want rather than the other way around. We seem to do it the other way around, I think, here in the UK, which I'm not sure. I mean, it kind of reflects what you were saying, really, about, knowing what you want really, rather and then figuring out how to get it, which is a different a different approach. We should just try and we think about it in very mechanical ways or instrumental ways of slotting people into different careers. You want to do this, you need that kind of degree, therefore you need these kind of A or whatever. Which seems to me be very instrumental. And life, I don't know how your life has played out, but my life has turned out completely different to the way I thought it was going to be. Let me ask you about other people. So if you were to offer some advice to a rookie CEO starting up, what would that one piece of advice be?
My my biggest advice would be to think about the life they want to create with the business first. So to not only focus on the external side of things, like the business model canvas or accelerated
Yeah.
problems, programs, but like also about like what kind of life do they want to create with that, and then really see like, okay, does the business idea they have and the path that leads there, is it actually aligned? So that would be my number one advice. Number two advice would likely be focus on one thing. Don't
Yeah.
don't let shiny
Yeah,
object
yeah, I get
syndrome
that. Yeah.
distract you.
Yeah, I mean, I think your first point's particularly interesting because what you're saying is that the business is the vehicle to get the life that you want.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
often don't think about business in that way, but I think that's a very well made point. I know you've got quite a lot of ambitions and you've got quite a few things that you still want to achieve because we talked about that when we spoke the other week. What is it that excites you about the next bit of the business, the bit that the next phase, if you like? What is it that excites you about that?
Oh, I feel like then everything is just getting started. Like I have 30 to 40 book ideas in my backlog. I don't even know
Right.
how many it is by now. I'm just adding new things when they come. And like once I like have everything running and I can sit down and write all those books, I will be happy. And so I'm planning to write all these, and I'm planning one large thing actually. But we are not quite there yet on in terms of technical solutions. But I hope that AI will get to the point where I can actually use it for that. And so, because like since like maybe 10 or 15 years, if not longer, actually, I have that idea that I want to find a solution for like how humanity can design or like create a world that is overall more like a running ecosystem. And by that, I don't just mean sustainability means, I mean like aligning everything. Because, for example, sustainability measures might not work because people say, like, oh, but I don't want to give up my personal luxury for that. Why should I do that? And so it doesn't work. And so what I want is like, I would love to have like a huge panel discussion with experts from like, let's say, psychology, economy, ecology, like everything, sociology,
Mhm.
have everything sit together and find a solution to get us into a stable ecosystem so we can survive long term. And I know that with humans, that would be impossible because that would likely take decades and you would never really come to a conclusion. And my hope is that AI at some point is far enough to represent an expert in a specific field. And then I would have the AI, like different AI, talk to each other
Mm.
and have that discussion. And then, like every now and then, like give us an output on where they are currently, and then work from there. And that is something that I want to create, like in the future. Um, but I think AI is currently not there yet.
Mm.
Mm.
I mean, what a great ambition. I mean, that sounds like something. I mean, let me know how that goes if you manage to figure that out, because I think that's going to be really interesting. Yuki, thank you for taking a bit of time to come and have a chat. I mean, it sounds like you're having a great time actually, and and this idea of creating a business to give you the life that you wanted. I mean, in one sense, you epitomise that because you've created a business that is going to allow you to write books, which is the thing that you want to do. I mean, what a great way. And what a great reason for building a business. I mean, so many people think business is just about making money. Well, of course, it is about making money, but it's not about having money. It's what you do with money that matters, isn't it, really? So thank you for taking a bit of time to share that with us and good luck with all those books.
Thank you.
All right. See you soon. Bye bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye bye.